So, Christina.
So, Doug.
Don't you look lovely this morning?
Lovely, don't you look lovely? I'm just going through my head, making sure I turned off everything.
All right.
So I turned off the coffee pot, or I did.
It all.
No, who turned off the coffee pot?
I did.
Okay. I turned off the hot water heater.
So, Kelly, tell the people out in YouTube land where we're headed today.
We are going to Alexandria Bay to go for a boat tour.
See how Christina gets put on the spot all the time?
Yes, I do.
See why Christina pauses and goes, Where are we going?
And we're being escorted around by Daniel and Kelly.
Yep.
Your favorite male escort? Well, probably not your favorite.
I don't have a favorite.
I was hoping he doesn't have a favorite.
I love them all!
All from one male escort to another.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought she was doing it yesterday and then have to worry about the thing getting blown away the whole time. Why aren't you looking comfortable, Christina?
Comfortable.
Assigned seating on a sightseeing
I like it.
boat.
Nice rain. I know.
We're in the, what would you call this? The snack bar area?
It's level 2.
Level 2.
No, they are actually going to be serving from there. The snack bar.
This is
No, this is the snack bar area sounds so. It's level 2. Sounds so much better.
level 2 snack bar area.
The size of some of these places. Isn't that something we're going to go over there later? Learn to live. Learn about the love story that's Boldt Castle.
Your fellow passengers as well. And on the second level, you will also, right before you walk in and out of the doorways, and on the concession stand, you will find pretzels, hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, Coca-Cola, Tums, bottled water, and also including. So we are on the river, so we are subject to
look at all the islands
as well. Just please use caution moving throughout the boat, especially up and on top deck. It does get a little bit windy when we turn and stuff. So just use caution with your hats and sunglasses or anything that might be able to fly overboard with your masks. So I think I've covered all the safety regulations and stuff. So now to introduce your crew. Now my name is Bree. I'll be giving you a tour today. Up here driving us around, this is Captain Nate. Are we giving a big round of applause?
Yay, Captain Nate!
I've been out here for quite a while, so we've never hit the same thing twice. So we're pretty safe hands. This is Jada. She'll be behind the concession stand. Off to our left, right there, that white home sits on the Manhattan Island group. Now, this was once purchased by Seth Green, and he was a marine biologist from Rochester. Now, he just wanted to purchase the main home, and not the two smaller islands on either side. And they used to be connected by the Whitefoot Bridge. You see the little island on the left is still connected, but the one on the right, the bridge fell in the water. But it's still a part of that group. Now, he's going to purchase the home for just $24. But instead of purchasing the big home for $24, he purchased all three for just $42. And next you'll see a little brown home with a green roof off to our left, and that is Coyote.
Now it's how much for a drink.
This is once owned by Steve Carhart. He's a retired sunglass designer for the Ray-Ban company. Now he spent his summers up here on the river, doing what every islander does, like fishing, swimming, kayaking, boating around, and he lost multiple pairs of Ray-Bans one summer due to the river. He got fairly frustrated, so he decided to come out of retirement and he constructed his own. They're called Coyote Eyewear. The homes that UV polarized, pretty damn quality but much cheaper. And some of the pairs can actually float. Now if they float, they'll say Bob's on the armband, or they'll have a floating polarized sticker right on the lens. Now if you look them up online or in stores, you're going to find them from $60 to $80, maybe even a little bit more than that, depending on the style. This is actually the first home out here on the river to have an underwater hydro cable as a source of electricity. Now, underwater hydro cable is just like a power line that runs on mainland, basically, except it runs on the bottom of the river. Now, those get fairly expensive, depending on how far away from mainland you are, because it's around $150 to $200 per foot.
Wow.
And you also have to pay to the divers who dive down to install it into the bottom of the river. So it was said if you would be sitting on mainland looking over towards Estrelita at night, they would light up their docks and be twinkling like a little star. But the homes that cannot afford or just don't want the hydro cable, they will either go without power or they may use a generator. We won't from April to December. Now there are two different types of ships that travel through the seaway, and they are known as salties and lakers. Now the difference between the two is their length as well as their bow structure. The salties are going to be the shorter bow, while lakers on the other hand are going to be much larger, roughly around 750 feet in length, and a very rounded out bow. Now the lakers, because they have a rounded bow, they really can't break the waves as well as the salties can. So they like to stick to the Great Lakes as well as the rivers, but the salties travel the Great Lakes, the rivers, as well as the seas. Now, as long as we are traveling in the shipping channel, we're going to see red and green channel markers on either side of the boat. This marks where the shipping channel lies.
Wow.
Now, as long as we are traveling
in a place right there on the water,
channel, we are guaranteed at least 60 feet of water.
Look at that
There
place.
is no average depth of the river, so if you're to exit out of the shipping channel, you really aren't guaranteed anything. But it has to be at least 60 feet through the channel, just so the ships that are traveling through here can navigate safely through the seabed. But it can get as deep as 250 feet at any point in the river, especially in the shipping channel. But it's like an mountain range basically, because in just a few moments on the other side of the island, when we loop around, we're traveling in at least 7 feet of water.
Look at this right here.
You really need to know where you're navigating, or set a GPS or a map to let you know what's the depth of the river that you're traveling in.
Wonder what that is. Very cool. That way. Like I said, much like I said, Christina, was I right or was I wrong?
I have to message Megan.
Sounds about right.
So you will be able to see a ship on your tour today, actually. There's going to be one chasing us. We're actually going to loop back around, and we're going to pass it roughly right before we get to the castle. That's pretty exciting. Usually when I give a tour, I don't really see ships. Unless they know I'm giving a tour or something, they don't travel by. But there was one traveled through here this morning at like roughly 9 when we got to work. There will be another one. The island in the Summerlin Island group, it narrows it right down to this island in the island group. It's called the Summerlin Island group because it's also one other type of shrubbery. Now there was a garlic realty sign on there, so that is for sale. How many are looking for an island out here?
That one is for sale.
Well, $99,000, you can have that rock with a tree on it. Next off to our right hand side, so the Grain Home. That sits on Sunnyside Island. It's called Sunnyside because the architect of the home, they placed it in a strategic direction. Now the first structure, this is going to be sitting off the island, so it's going to be sitting in the back, and that is George Boldt's Yacht House. Now this is where he would have housed his captain and crew, as well as his large and small steamships. This is where George Boldt would house his gas and diesel generators, which would supply electricity and pumped water throughout the entire island. It was said that these were so strong could supply electricity and pumped water all the way over to mainland Alex Bay off to our left. Now next you will see the tower behind the trees. Now this is the dovecote to the Henry. And this is where George the House's favorite exotic birds. And that is surrounded by and also a part of the Italian gardens. And this is where they house their weddings here on Hart Island. And there's roughly 60 to over 100 weddings here in just the summer months. Next is the main castle that sits 6 stories tall, has 127 rooms, 31 fireplaces, 30 bathrooms, and 365 windows, which was one for every day of the year. Now it was said if it was fully finished, fully furnished, it could fit 25 families of 4 comfortably with their own bedroom, bathroom, and fireplace. This is actually the only structure north of New York City at the time to have an Otis elevator as well as an in-ground indoor swimming pool. And next, the mini-looking castle right here. This is the Ulster Tower, or the Children's Playhouse. It had a dueling bowling alley, a library, a billiard room, a small theater, and also a temporary living quarters for the Boldt family to stay while the castle was being completed. And this is actually the only part of the island that was ever lived in by the Boldt family. And next and lastly right here, this is the Arch of Honor. This is a miniature replica of the Arch de Triomphe in Paris, France. And this is where George's wife Louise would have greeted any guests coming to stay at the castle. And also this had an underground trolley system that would collect the guests' luggage and run them underground up to their rooms without anybody even noticing. And you do get a better view of the yacht house sitting in the back as well. Now, George Boldt built this to show his love for his wife, Louise. Now, he also built the second estate right here, right next to the castle. And it's going to be that little brown cottage with a rusty-colored roof. And he built this to show how much he loved the second love of his life, which happened to be his mother-in-law. So, as you see, all doors and windows, they lead directly to the deep and cold St. Lawrence River. Now, it also said that she was a chronic sleepwalker. So that's how much he really loved his mother-in-law. Card games. Well, the wives of the men got fairly jealous that they were spending all of their free time here and also a lot of their money.
That's nice.
So they all teamed up one night and actually burned. Now this is the opposite end of James Street. This is Upper James Street. And now there's a couple of waterfront eateries. There's more village docks that you can walk out on. And there's a couple different boat shops as well, boat marinas. This first home right here, this is not a summer cottage. There's actually going to be 30 to 50 room stone mansions. Now the first island is Cherry Island. It has multiple homes on it, but the first one is called the Twin Pines Tree House. Now this was built by Nathan Strauss and Abraham Abrams, and they were the founders of the A&S department stores. Do any of you know what the A&S department stores is now known as?
No idea.
Well, it's now known as Macy's.
I was just going to say Macy's.
They were two best friends, and they happened to marry twin sisters. And they were so close, they accidentally built their homes too close together. They were named Olympia and Ballora. Now, Ballora is the one still standing because Olympia was deemed a fire hazard and is also found structurally unstable. So they did have to tear it down and is now used as the foundation as their in-ground swimming pool.
Millionaire's Row.
And next, this is Casablanca. This translates from Spanish to English, meaning White House. This was once owned by Luis Marx. He was a Cuban sugar and tobacco plantation owner, but it is now currently owned by the Amsterdam family. And they also own the multi-million-dollar green mansion in Key West, Florida.
No, which Amsterdam
family?
family?
You can rent out this home for a week or so, but it is also up for sale. I'm not quite sure of the listing price, but you can look it up. And they do like to house special events on the island as well, especially weddings, because all the pictures that you do take do get the view of Boldt Castle in the background.
Comes a boat.
Next, if you look along the seawall, you're going to see a line, a couple gargoyles, and a couple griffins. Now, if you look closely, you can see their eyes and mouths. They are painted red, and this is to ward off evil spirits from Canada. But it's not in the form of ghosts or goblins, but actually alcohol spirits. During America's Prohibition, they used to hang lanterns in the mouths of them to signal the rum runners from Canada. And this last estate right here, this is known as Winley Lodge. Now, Fred and Nellie Fraser built both the boathouse and the home for $750,000. Now, shortly after building the home, they decided they didn't really need the big boathouse, so they decided to remodel it, add an apartment upstairs, and sold that for just $750,000, basically getting the home right here on the point of the island for free. Now, this is actually a part of the same estate once again today, and this was the last home built on Millionaires Road for the U.S. involvement in World War I. So we'll be making this turn right here. So we do have an island coming up over here on our right-hand side. It's going to be this big, large rock with a bunch of trees on it. It doesn't look too exciting. After sinking the British ship, the Sir Robert Peel. Now, on the third night, when Johnson's daughter Kate was bringing news and supplies to him, the local authorities followed her back into the cave and arrested Johnston. Now, he was sentenced to life in federal prison, but after only serving a few short years, he was presidentially pardoned and resentenced to being a lighthouse keeper up at Rock Island Lighthouse in Fisher's Landing, which we will be able to see on your tour today in just a little bit. Now, Bill Johnston, he is the focus of what we call our Pirates Days, which is our second and third week in August. Now, it's roughly 10 to 12 days of pirate ships, pirate cannons. There's invasion of the beach. There's pirate ships all around the waters. There's actually skits on Uncle Sam boats in the morning for the kids. Lots of drinking, block parties. It's a pretty cool sight to see. Over here off to our left, this is Cuba Islands. It's simply called Cuba Islands because if you look at it from an aerial view, it does resemble the island nation of Cuba. Next, right here off to our right, this is Wawanet Island. In 1902, this was purchased by Thomas Wheeler. He was an associate of John E. Rockefeller. Later on, in the 1950s and 60s, it was actually home to the most popular boatel. Now, boatel is kind of like a hotel or motel on mainland, except for it is only accessible by boats. The boatel it did burn down in a fire, but the home that sits right there does sit on the original stone foundation. This actually island so that two of our big ships could pass side by side if they needed to. Now, off to our left, this big wooded area right here. This is mainland. This is Key Waden State Park. Now, Key Waden is the regional headquarters for the 26 state parks here in this region. Has over 52 sites and Olympic sites swimming pool. Also, a popular boat marina that we will get a view of just up ahead. Now, this is one of the state parks that does not have a sanded beach, but it does have plenty of water access right here. As kids like to jump off the rocks and off the seawall into the river. Right here to our right-hand side, this is in murder him right in his living room. So to our left right there, that was the popular boat marina that I was talking about. Wow, it's a busy day on the shipping channel so far. Over here off to our left, it usually has about a 3 to 5 year waiting slip period as well. This is Longview or Artificial Island. Now it's called Artificial Island because this is another man-made island here in the region. Now this was built by Hudson P. Rose for his wife. Now he brought his wife up here and he told her that she could have any island here in the region. Now that's a lot of islands. But she decided she didn't like any of them. So he built her the islands and then built her the home on top. Now shortly after presenting this to her, she decided she didn't like the island. She really didn't like the home. And turns out, she really didn't like him either and left her. Just somebody mow the grass, which usually was pretty long. But if they were up there to have all 50 states, we're actually still going to be traveling through it as well. Now it's known as the American Narrows because this is the narrowest section. And it's also fairly dangerous for two ships to travel side by side. So they try to avoid it at all costs. I mean, they can fit side by side. It's just very uncomfortable. Nobody likes to do it, so they try to avoid it at all costs. Now, it's also a very dangerous section because the current through here is also very swift because of how narrow it is. Now, once we get up towards Rock Island, the shipping channel is going to widen quite a bit, and you're going to see a bunch of the water, and I'll actually point that out, but all of the water up there actually has to fit through the shipping channel. That's why it has such a swift current. Over here off to our right, this is not mainland. It's been trailing us off to our side for quite a while. This is going to be Wellesley Island. This is the largest U.S. island, and it's the second largest island overall. Now this extends over 8 miles. So coming up over here off to our left, this is going to be a summer community, and this will be known as Point Vivian. Now this was originally named Hutton Point, but they changed it to Point Vivian because Vivian meant happiness or liveliness. Now this was an 8-acre peninsula that was purchased for just $500 by investors. Now after they purchased it, they decided to split it up into 40 individual lots and then build their homes. Now these are all the original homes that were built here. And they will most likely be in the same family bloodlines as the original owners of the homes as well. Now, the wives that lived here actually decided to come up with a cookbook together to raise money to fix their docks. So, fun fact. But Point Vivian actually used to have their own ice bar as well as a little convenience store and a post office as well. It's going to be sitting in a white building right here, right behind the flagpole. Well, it did close down, so it's not in operation today. Because this does sit on mainland, it is easily accessible to any of the convenience stores or gas stations or anything like that on the mainland. And right to the right of Point Vivian, off to our left-hand side, see that gazebo on that little island with the boat. Now, this was actually claimed by a Point Vivian man, and this was actually a shoal. Now, he built on it, claimed that he needed an extra dock space. Now, he actually had this little property assessed, and it was deemed separate from Point Vivian, and it was assessed for over $80,000. So now he does have to pay property taxes at 10%, so it's known as the Island of Regret. So at this point in the tour, I'm talking for roughly an hour now. So I'm going to take a quick break right here. Now would be a great time to go downstairs, visit the concession stand, use the restrooms. But if you do get up to either visit the restrooms or the concession stand, we do ask you folks, please put your masks back on.
sheet metal. He worked at
Okay.
pretty dwarfs that tractor trailer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look.
Freak out because there's a bunch of tractor trailers that drive by, and even cars shake the bridge system. So if you're looking for a thrilling thing to do, it's definitely one of the things. Now those flags that are changed daily to represent the ships that are traveling through the seaway each day. Now, maybe you know Gabby Hoffman. She starred in Uncle Buck as well as A Field of Dreams. Now, her family actually owns this home right here. It's a fun fact for a bit. But they either have the app on their phones, because there's an app that tells you what ships that are traveling through the seaway, or you can just Google it as well, and they'll tell you like where they're from, where they're going, what they're carrying, how long they are, if they're a salty or a liquor, and they'll show you everything about the ships that are traveling through here. Now, Fineview once had a residence by the name of Barry Freed. Now, Mr. Freed, he took extensive interest in Save the River. He started the Save the River campaign, and that is our strict no dumping policy, and he's the one that is credited to get our river back to 95% pure. So he's known as a local hero to all of us. But the residents were quite shocked to find out that his real name wasn't Barry Freed, but it was Abby Hoffman. And he was an anti-war protester that was a part of the Chicago 7. He was a part of the Most Wanted list, so he had facial reconstructive surgery and hid out here on Wells Island. So he hid out for multiple years here in Fineview, and towards the end of his lifetime, he did end up turning himself in, and he got interviewed right here in Fineview by Barbara Walters. So that he purchased the island and then built a mansion on it. Well, you see the island, there isn't a mansion on this because it did burn down during a fire. Now, fires out here on the river, you'd think they're fairly easy to fight because, well, we are completely surrounded by water. So here off to our left, you see a little white home that's known as Accident Island. And this is actually one of the first fishing camps out here on the St. Lawrence. That was used more as a bed and breakfast for the fishermen. They'd come here the night before, their boats would already be packed and ready to go. So they'd just sleep here. May stick above the water, and mostly they are marked for the most part, but some of them may not be marked. Now, it is very difficult to travel through this section because most of them are not marked. Now, if you were to have a rental boat, haven't really traveled through this section before, don't have a GPS or a chart or navigation, you will not make it out without hitting a shoal, basically. Easy to say. I've seen a lot of the rental pontoons hit a shoal in this section. Now, if you were to hit a shoal, if they can sink a ship, they can sink a pontoon or a jet ski or anything like that. Well, in the past 2 days, we've seen 2 jet skis hit a shoal and sink. Next off to our left, it's going to be that white and black brownish colored home. And this is known as, I'm going to give you a bit, but this lighthouse is not in commission. It's used more as like a channel marker today. But this was just recently renovated by the New York State Parks at a cost of $800,000. So they did not charge to get in before renovations, but unfortunately now they have to due to the cost. And they charge $2 a person. Now that's a record-breaking trip right here. Just sit back, relax, get on your cooking session, stand up, master dive because of the depth and also the swift current of the St. Lawrence River. And next off to our left, this is Hopewell Hall. This was built by William C. Browning, and he manufactured Union Army uniforms during access to this home via the Thousand Islands Bridge system. But if you go to the website, www.hopewellhall.com, it does give you a virtual tour of the inside. And next, this is Coleman Island, named after its first owner, George Coleman. He was the inventor of the sleeper-style rail car. He also brought a lot of fame and tourism up here to the region because he did entertain President Ulysses S. Grant for 1 week out here on the island. There also did used to be a granite castle on the island as well, but it was eventually torn down because of a tax dispute with the town. Now there's actually no mortar or concrete holding those pillars in place, but just simply the weight of the home itself. Right here off to our left, this is Friendly or Dewey Island. This is once owned by Paul Quackenbush, and he was the founder of Empire Air, which is now part of American Air. His great-grandfather was the inventor of the double-hinged nutcracker, the extension ladder, and he also sold the patent to the Daisy Red Ryder BB gun. See that corkscrew-looking structure off in the distance off to our left? That's the Thousand Islands Sky Deck, which sits in Hill Island, Ontario. Next, the big white anchor right there, that sits on St. Elmo's Island, and St. Elmo was the patron saint of sailors. And the big white anchor is out there to commemorate those who have and still are serving out here on the St. Lawrence. The original home was burnt down during a fire, but the boathouse at the bottom of the islands is a miniature replica of the home that used to stand. And in the back, you see the cream and brown home, that is the Swiss Chalet. And this is where George Boldt would house his patrons at the Belleville Stratford Hotel, and also the Waldorf Astoria Hotel that likes to come up and visit the Thousand Islands. So right now we're going to be heading back towards Boldt's Castle. So we will be passing the castle one more time, and then we're going to make a turn around it, and we're going to dock in the back. Now this is a completely optional stop, so if you do choose to tour the castle, this is a completely separate admissions fee. Now this is $10 per adult, $7 per child, and 4 and under are admitted free. Now you have up until 6:30 tonight to tour the castle. This is a completely self-guided tour. So you can take as long as you'd like, up to 6:30. And then once you're ready to return, all you have to do is go back down to the docks where we drop you off, and you can hop on any Uncle Sam boat that is there at the time. Now this one's going to be making 2 more stops, and also all of our vessels are out in our fleet today. So you can hop on any of the bigger boats, or we have the Uncle Sam 2, which is our shuttle. which its main job is to just run back and forth to the castle every day, or all day long.
Oh, the Yacht House is a different ticket.